I think one thing, going back to ASDA actually, something that they do fantastically well is that they've gone round and looked at which, in their view, is the best bulls for taking the beef industry forward. They have asked the farmers if they could buy that semen at a reduced rate, and then through the sort of ABP beef link, they sell that semen back to the commercial farmer at a reduced rate. But if we think about it as a chain, they have encouraged or are encouraging their farmers to buy the best semen, therefore producing hopefully the best stock. So if it's a heifer calf, they're improving their herd. If it's a bull calf, they're improving the quality of meat that they're getting in. It therefore benefits not only the farmer, benefits the abattoir because they've got more to sell of the better cuts, and it benefits the supermarket because they've got better quality stuff to sell. I think that's quite a good and well worth mentioning. So a little thing I did, bull calves, everyone looks at and says, don't do them. Well, we had a ceremonial fire of the, we used rubber ring the steers. It got melted very quickly after I did this trial and will never reappear. This was a few years ago, but the increases are roughly the same. Now, I will immediately hold my hand up here and say I cannot justify ploughing up a grass field, arable field, to turn it into grass because it doesn't make sense. So these are intensively finished. So you can see the difference in the price is 140 quid in my pocket. Killing out percentage, a difference of 3%. Dead weight, 53 kilos. Age, back to the carbon footprint. The difference in age is 1.4, so 6 weeks. The problem I had this year is that you're not allowed to kill animals before they're 12 months old and call them beef. That is a European derogation, and I have been in at Europe saying this is nuts, you want us to be more efficient, more green, but I've got this efficient by looking at the bulls and stuff, and you're now saying, whoa, stop, you're too efficient. So we need to try and move that. Supermarket spec is an EU R3 or 4L. So if we look at the supermarket spec down there, nearly 90% of the bulls made it. 39% of the steers. I will hold my hands up immediately and say the majority of those steers didn't make it because they were H's. The reason why they were H's is that after the first batch had gone away, I nearly died of heart failure when I worked out what they grossed and said, we need to get them heavier. And they became fatter. So for me, didn't add up. The steers were paying more. But let's take it through. There were 61 animals in that trial. They were all out the same type of cow, and they were all out of the same bulls. We just rubber ringed the first half and kept the second half entire. If I was all steers and I moved to being all bulls on those 61, and you put in some management costs for the extra 6 weeks and bedding and work it out, it was adding 13,500 quid to my bottom line. You take the slide that Alan put up about the guy in negative, that actually puts him in profit. But, one big but, when you're doing bulls, you have to be on top of your game at management. Because if you mess them up and mess around and join them in and swap them about all over the place, the abattoir will come back and say, these are all dark cutters, I'm not interested, I can't sell it on to my customer. You have to do it properly. The other thing that amazes me is the number of people who don't actually know what their cattle are worth or weighing. So every 3 weeks after weaning, every 3 weeks, those bulls are weighed. And I can follow their growth. If one's not growing, I can go to my two guys and say, I don't know, ear tag 1450, he only did 0.2 of a kilo. He hurt himself or something. Oh, great, that's fine. Or, well, I'm not sure about that. Right, we can investigate it and get on top of it. But it also comes to the stage that once you've got them to their level, you can see the growth tailoring off. What's the point in hammering expensive feed down their throats when they're not actually going to put on that much weight? Time to go. Yeah, nearly there. So, I'm sorry, this is Scottish agriculture. So total turnover of Scottish agriculture, 3 billion. TIF, 600 million. Farming support, 550 million. There's 65,000 people involved in Scottish agriculture. That's £9,000 per annum. How many of you in here would work for £4 an hour? Yeah, no one. If you took the subsidies out of the average Scottish farm profit is 9 grand. If you took the subsidies out, it's 1 grand. I won't be popular saying this, but I've said it before. Farming is profitable. There are too many people involved in it. You need to be on top of your game. What we call on our farm I-beans, those who go onto the farm and said, my grandfather did it this way, my father did it this way, and I'm going to do it this way, there's no place for you. You need to be changeable, adaptable, quick thinking. Just because your father made a living from, I don't know, carrot farming, doesn't mean that you are. And that no one, you go to a lot of these meetings and say, I'm producing food, you have to pay me that. No. Remember, when you have a discussion with anyone, and what I try and do is always put yourself in their shoes. The supermarkets have shareholders to reply to. Going back to my time in London, if they're losing money, there's a lot of people getting on their case. So they've got to make money. Think carefully about what you're doing. Second last slide. Scottish perspective. Let's think about this in the European picture. Scotland is 1% of Europe. We are a mere piece of dust on the floor. Europe's agricultural turnover, let's take sheep. EID drove Scotsmen up the wall. The EU couldn't really give a flying monkeys about it. It's only 2%. And for the Scottish government, Richard Lochhead, for all his good intent and everything, shouting, I'm sorry, is there a problem down there? You know, you've got to think how the rest of Europe is made up. And that's the one thing that amazed me is the average farm size in Europe is 37 hectares. It's quite small. But a lot of their business, as you can see from there, is in milk and eggs and the other bit, which is all horticulture. And crops is huge. So just before we play the advert, my final slide, please run your farm like a business, not a hobby. So this 40-second advert will hopefully play. Technology. Is it going to play? Here we go. Here you go, come on immediately.
Here in Perthshire is the only person in history to win Young Farmer and Farmer of the Year in the same year, Adrian Ivory. Adrian goes to great lengths to ensure his beef's the very best, with homegrown feed and nurturing morning and night.
With beef, you get back what you put in, which is why I believe this 28-day matured beef is so tender, so succulent, and so unbelievably tasty.
And this Christmas, Adrian's 28-day matured beef is exclusively available at Asda. They call it extra special because it is. Adrian's beef, just a taste of Asda's extra special range this Christmas.
Now, just to give you an idea of what we're working with, I have no idea about how Twitter works. I'm sorry, I don't understand it. But some of the feedback on Twitter that was sent back to me, 90% of it very positive. It was the first time ever that an advert had gone from live to dead. But some of them said that ad has turned me vegan. How sick, feeding his cows to his children. Right? You obviously don't understand the food chain, but that is what we are dealing with. And that is the education process that needs to happen. There were all sorts of comments like that. Horrendous feeding your animals to your children. So I'll end on a very, very quick, funny story as we're on the Royal Showground. I used to show cattle here, and I was stalled next to an Irishman, and Crosby, I apologise for my Irish accent, but this guy had a big bull over from Ireland. The public loved to come here, walking along, and this kid punched this bull, and this is true, punched this bull in the balls, and I thought it very funny until he got kicked, but thankfully he was far enough back that it just scuffed his arm. This lady marched up to the he shall remain nameless, up to the farmer, said, "Did you see what your bull did to my child?" And his response, which I thought was fantastic, was, "If I punched you in the tits, would you smile?" Child removed. But that is what we have to deal with. Thank you very much. Thank you.